Hey guys, it's Sharika and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe before you leave. I would love to have you. So today we are doing some giant snow crab legs. That's all I have today, and I have my mayo and mustard dip here. For today's drink, I'm just doing a blue lemonade. So let's go ahead and say grace. Amen. Y'all, these crab legs are huge. These are probably like the biggest ones that I've ever had. I got these from Rose, like this, and it's just like a grocery store. I get a lot of questions on if they deliver and stuff like that. I have no idea. That would be something that you would have to Google, but I doubt it. I doubt that they deliver. Okay, y'all, so I have a story time today that was crazy. So this video might be a little long today. But y'all, I really feel like I could have been a detective, because I know how to figure out stuff. I'm really good at figuring out cases and stuff like that. But the reason that I'm not a detective is because I have to put my hands on somebody. Okay. All right, let me open this shell. I try not to. It's a little closer to me. Okay, so the story is from See No Evil. There was a girl named Sasha. She was a social media manager for an apartment complex. She was doing very well for herself. She was loved around the community. She had recently moved into a new complex, like a luxury apartment complex. These things are so big. Hold on, y'all. And this story gets really crazy. So one weekend, Sasha and one of her friends, one of her guy best friends, decided that they were gonna go to a soccer game. Their team ended up winning, so they wanted to go out with everybody and celebrate. So they went to the club, dancing, drinking, everything, having a good time. So Sasha decides that she's going to head over to the next spot and that she'll catch up with him later, which they did that all the time, so he didn't really think nothing of it. So the next day they were supposed to meet up for breakfast. So her friend showed up at the breakfast spot, but Sasha never showed up. So he called her, texted her, no answer. So he felt like, okay, maybe, you know, she had a hangover or whatever, no big deal. So when he gets to the car, he decides to call some of their other friends to see if they heard from her, because she did have to go to a baby shower that day. So he called the other friends. Nobody had heard from her. So they didn't hear from her. So they decided to all link up and go to her apartment to check on her. When they got to her apartment, they did see her car in the parking garage. So they go up to the apartment, knock on the door, no answer. And they said that's just not like her, so they decided to call the police. So the police gets there. They go down to the security desk, get them to unlock the door. They go in and they find Sasha. That seasoning on them crabs so good. So now it's time to figure out, how did this happen? So they go to the security guard. They ask them about, you know, the surveillance footage from that night, and to show them all of the surveillance cameras that's around the property, inside and outside. So they have a lot of cameras, but they can't get their hands on the footage that exact day because the building is monitored from another location. So they had to wait on that footage. So they know that, and this happened in Orlando. I'm not too sure if I mentioned that. So on the street that she was on, they have a lot of street cameras. And it was like a strip that had like a lot of clubs. So they had a lot of cameras like on every corner. So, y'all, this story is crazy. So, they pull the footage. You know, they match up the times. They pull the footage. And they spot her. So she is clearly intoxicated. She's walking out of the club. And she's kind of stumbling a little bit. She's by herself. So they go to the, you know, they watch that footage until she's out of their sight, and they go to the next one. And in the next shot, she's running. So they continue to play the footage to see who she running from. And then they lose her. It's like she disappeared. Well, it turns out it was a glitch in the footage, so they wasn't able to see if she was running from somebody. They go to the next shot. She's with two girls. They get in a car and they drive away. So they decided they're gonna take it to the media, put her picture out on the news, and see if they can get some help from, you know, the city. Two girls show up at the station saying they had information about the girl, Sasha. So they said that they were the girls that she was with, that she got in the car with, because they saw her stumbling and she was clearly intoxicated, so they wanted to help her out. It was some guys that kept trying to get her to come over to the car to talk to them. So the girl, she said that she just grabbed her arm and said, just get in the Uber with us. So she ended up getting in the Uber with them. She said once they got to the red light, the girl was like, oh, this is where I live, because she was too intoxicated to actually tell them where she lived, but she recognized the building. She got out of the car, and the last time they saw her. So the detective asked her, okay, well, how sure are you that that's the girl? They said 100%. So she described what she had on and everything like that, which was the same description that the best friend had gave them. Okay. So they finally get in contact with the security guard that was on duty that night. And he said he saw Sasha. He the security guard, so he watching from the office on the computer. So he said he saw her trying to get into the building, but she was obviously struggling remembering her pin. They also have the little unlock keypad that they can use, but she didn't have that on her. So he's watching her on the camera, struggling to get in. And somebody else that lives there ended up walking up and they let her in. And you're not able to do that. If you live in like a luxury apartment, you can't let somebody in behind you. Everybody has to swipe their key or either enter their code to get into the buildings. So he has to go and see what's going on. So whenever he goes looking for her, because he don't, you know, there's so many people in the apartment, so he don't know like what floor she lives on or whatever, but he was able to find her because he can hear like her bumping in the wall, and then her shoes, like her flip-flops, was slap, slap, slap on the floor. So he was able to find her. So he asked her if she was okay. She said yes, she just cannot figure out the code to her door. So then she asked him if he would walk her to the garage to look in the car to see if she has her keypad so she can just let herself in that way. So he agreed to walk her to the garage, but before they can get to the garage, she said she thinks she noticed the pin. So he walked her halfway back and he said, okay, I gotta go get back to the front desk, so I'll come back and check on you, and if you're not in your apartment, we'll have to figure something else out, because the security don't have the master key, and they shouldn't. So the surveillance footage finally came back from the apartment. So they're watching the footage. They see everything that the security guard told them about the guy letting her in. And he's walking behind her, because, you know, he kind of let her go in first. And the guy asked her, was she okay? She said she was fine. So then, you know, they'll go from the first floor's footage. She's stumbling up the steps. They want to see if the guy that let her in is following her, but he wasn't. They go to the next floor and the next floor. So they see her, and then for about 30 minutes, they didn't see her. Then she pops back up on the screen, but this time she's running. So they're waiting to see who she's running from, and the security guard popped back up on the screen. So they continued to watch the footage, and everything that he said about him walking her back. She's saying that she didn't, that she thinks she remembered the code, and that's why she was running back up to the apartment. And he was behind everything, all that checked out. So when they did the autopsy, they found DNA on her body. So they just kept that, and they decided that they were gonna go ahead and question the last boyfriend that she had. So he ended up checking out. They asked him to do a DNA. He did all of that. His alibi checked out. He wasn't a suspect anymore. So she didn't have her cell phone with her. Her cell phone was missing. But in the apartment, they had her iPad. they had her iPad from out of her apartment. So they got all the information. They got into the iPad. And they saw that she had been texting somebody at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And it had a name. The guy name was Ben. So he came down to the station. And, you know, they told him that they know she was texting him at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, he said, yeah, she texted me 5 o'clock in the morning. By the time I saw the text message, when I called her back, she didn't answer. They took a DNA from him. He checked out. So they like, okay, we got to be missing something. So they decide to look at the footage after she got into the apartment. So they watched the footage up until, she got home in her apartment at like 1 or something like that. They watched up until about 3 o'clock, and then that was it. But now that both of the guys checked out, they know they missed something. So they decided to just continue to watch the footage until the sun came up. And what do they see? The security guard is leaving out of the apartment, or he's leaving out of the complex because his shift was over at 6 o'clock that morning. He leaving out of the complex at 6:30 with 2 bags in his hand. Now, 2 trash bags. Now, whenever they went into her apartment, when they first found Sasha, they saw trash bags on the ground, like a roll of trash bags. The exact same trash bags that the security guard had in his hand. So he went out the door, dumped the trash bags, and came back in. So now they're like, okay, well, that's strange. So they go question him again. This time, they want him to do a lie detector test. So they ask him, did you ever go into Sasha's apartment that night? He said, no. The needle jumped. So then they just start asking him random questions like, did you stab her? And he said, no, the needle was fine. Did you choke her? No, the needle jumped again. They asked him a few more questions, and then they ended it because they knew he was lying. But you know, they can't use that in court. So once they did the DNA test on him, they swabbed him. Once that came back, it was a match. So the security guard did it. When they pulled up his information, he had looked up ways to break a code on the keypad on the doors so he can get in. And he did that to that girl. So ladies, when y'all go out and y'all want to have a good time like that, make sure that you're not by yourself, because you never know who's watching. Okay guys, so I hope you're done eating. If you're eating with me, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to click the next 2 videos at the bottom of the screen, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye y'all.